Hey everyone, CCG Genesis here. I'm helping out my friend show off his new deck profile. We're gonna split it up. So you can go check it out on his channel,
which is Gojin the Rage at YouTube.
Alright, so he's gonna show off his Royal Paladin deck profile.
So this is a Royal Paladin Brave deck profile. Pretty budget, so like it's a little friendly on the wallet. I mean, except for the G zone, you know. G zone's always expensive.
It's the extra deck.
Yeah, it's the extra deck that gets you. It's how they make money. Yeah. So we're gonna start with the grade zeros, and the first grade zero you're gonna have is the starter, Stius. His ability is that when you're in Brave, which is when you have 3 or less cards in hand, which is gonna be a big point in most of the skills, you can put him into your soul, select one of your units, it gains 5,000 power, and the red text that it returns to your hand at end of the turn. So he's good for like when you call either the Perfect Guard, or maybe when you have to call the Stride Enabler to search your boss Altmile. He also helps fixing columns, like if there's columns that aren't that powerful, you can make them stronger. And that's pretty much what he's used for. He's just a lot of utility. So the next card is you're gonna run for Bringer of Dreams Belinus. He is your standard put me into soul if your Vanguard has X name. For in this case it's Altmile. If your Vanguard has Altmile in its card name, your Vanguard gains 5,000 power and you draw a card. And this is before you activate your drive checks. It's when your Vanguard attacks. So for certain cards in your G zone, it's going to help build up your soul, and for certain cards that's going to come up later in the deck, it's going to help fix those numbers and make those numbers better. Then we have for Sarugal. Sarugal is the Brave Stand trigger, whose effect says, on call, if you're in Brave when he's called, you can, at the end of the turn, you draw 1 card and return him to deck. As long as he's not retired, the effect is always active, and you get an extra card in hand. So there's other cards that you do this, but for different costs. Then we have Encourage Angel, who is Generation Break 1. On call, you select 2 of your units and they gain plus 3,000 power, and this unit returns to the deck. So your trigger, some of your triggers will cycle back into, some of your other triggers will cycle back into the deck. You'll have more stands to attack more often and more times, so that your opponent has to drop more guard for more attacks. And she helps fix columns as well. You know, we always want to fix columns.
There's also a cute loop that you can do.
Yeah.
Well, no, a combo.
There's a
very situational combo.
Very situational combo that I'll explain at the end of the video. Then, like every Royal Paladin deck, just 4 heal triggers. Any heal trigger will do. I prefer Elaine because, you know,
you don't have to run heals.
Yeah, it's true. You don't have to run heals. You could replace her with crits.
Only damage.
Yeah, you can go for
more face damage,
more crits.
All right.
Or
we understand this concept here.
Or even more stands if you want. You know, stands are fun.
Right.
Then we have Headwind Knight Selim. His ability is that he's an extra grade 2 when he's in deck.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have an Altmile Vanguard and you're in Brave,
he counts himself in the deck.
Yes, in the deck he's counted as a grade 2. So when you have a Vanguard skill or a Rear Guard skill that says search your deck for a grade 2, if you already have 2 grade 2s in the front row and you want to have, and one of them doesn't have a booster, you can call him in the Rear Guard behind it. So he also has the Brave ability that if you have a Vanguard with Altmile in its card name, he gains 3,000 power. So he's pretty fun, like. So he's very useful. He's a 10k booster. Again, column fixing.
10k booster?
Yeah.
And could be searched out? Damn, son.
Yeah. That's why we run 4 of him.
That's stupid.
So Next is 4 of the Stride Enabler. So obviously the Stride Enabler allows you to stride without having to pitch a grade 3 or pitch more than...
He searches the Stride Father. Another
Yeah,
grade 3.
he searches your main boss Altmal. And now with the new Altmal coming out, he can search that too, because he specifically searches anything with Altmal in its card name. So
it's
he
just
works for
not grade 3,
both.
it's just only Altmal.
Yeah, it has to have Altmal in its card name.
So it's more strict Stride Enabler.
It has to be a grade. You have to reveal a grade 3 card in order to use the effect. So
you only get to search Altmal.
You only get to search Altmal.
So it's more restricted.
So it's a little more restricted.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Then we have 3 copies of Olwen, or Hornus, excuse me. Olwen is a Jewel Knight. This guy will make your columns stupidly big. As long as you're in Brave, every time you call something in front of him, you can Soul Blast 1, and he gets 3,000 power.
He's part of the combo.
He's part of the sweet combo that we're going to explain later. And then he has the added effect that if your Vanguard is grade 4, he gets another 3k. So in total, if you have, let's say, strode into Transcending the Heavens, he gets 6,000 power every time you call something in the same column as this unit, as long as you're in Brave.
So stupid. I saw this happen yesterday too.
Yeah. Then
it's not consistently happening. But
yeah, it's not consistent, but
it's stupid when it does go off.
It's stupid when it
goes
like off. Amazing.
96,000 power.
Yeah, it was 91,000 power. It was amazing. This is the first Brave Perfect Guard. I might switch to for the new one that's coming out. This one is pretty basic. On call, if you're in Brave, it gets 2,000 power. And the red text that at end of turn you can counterblast 1 to have it returned to your hand. Which also works with the starter.
That's really good.
Yeah. It's really good. I mean, I'm a little upset that it's counterblast 1. There are other Perfect Guards that do the same thing, but for less.
That balance somehow.
Yeah. But then again, they don't gain 2,000 power, so they're not 8k boosters. And so the starter can allow you to gain the red text skill, but not have to pay the counterblast. Then we have 2 copies of Suleiman. Suleiman is the replacement Twin Sword.
Okay, so what happened to Twin Sword?
What happened to Twin Sword was Twin Sword didn't give power, and Twin Sword needed to be boosted.
Okay.
When Suleiman attacks, I believe it's a Vanguard, or I think it's just on attack. And then it's Counterblast 1, and you discard 1 card from your hand. You select it when this unit attacks. You select a grade 2 from your deck, and you can call it to any rearguard circle. So you can call it over him. You can call it next. You can call it behind him.
Hello, Spike Brothers.
Oh yes, hello Spike Brothers. This is Royal Paladin Spike Brothers edition. And then, like,
you have to be a GB1 to do
you have to be Generation Break 1 to do it. So like, if you G guarded a turn before and like you can't stride, you can still use his skill.
Yeah.
But he's a source of call power. And he has the neat plus 3k if your Vanguard's all mile and you're in Brave. And then the discard also helps put you in Brave, like for other skills if you really need it.
How do you activate Brave?
To activate Brave, you need to have 3 or less cards in hand.
Okay.
So, for example, an auto skill that has Brave would activate during the timing, so you must be in Brave.
You only have 3 cards.
Yeah, during the time that you activate the skill, if you have 3 or less cards in hand, the skill activates.
Okay.
And then it doesn't matter if you go over. The only time that it really matters is if it's continuous Brave.
Okay.
Then we have 2 Knight of Flight Danius. This guy is the other part of the ridiculous combo that we said earlier. His first skill is continuous during your turn. He gains 1,000 for each of your brave units. So he makes himself bigger just by having other units with brave. So, and this includes Vanguard. It's a rear guard only skill if your Vanguard has a brave skill, and it'll trigger his effect. And then his second skill is Counterblast 1. Choose a unit on your board that has brave. Danius gains 2,000 power, and the unit that you selected may return to your hand at end of turn. So you don't have to return it to your hand; it can just stay on the board. Like for example, if you had one of the eagles out, and you didn't want to return it to hand, so you can keep its brave active for the 10k shield. You can keep it on the field, but he still gets the 2,000 power. Then we have 2 Knight of Fragment. Knight of Fragment is in the deck to help manage your resources, because this deck, as you can see, counterblasts a lot so far. So if you have another grade 2 on the field, he gains 2,000 power. So he's 11k by himself. So he's automatically a 5k shield. And then he has the added skill that on hit you can flip up one of your face down damage and soul charge one from the deck. So he's a card that your opponent is most likely going to want to guard. So it's generally a good idea to pump him up to really big numbers so that your opponent drops more guard so that you can have less resources, but you end up whittling their hand away and they have less options. Then here we have Shingle. He has a similar ability to Knight of Fragment. His ability is, if you're in Brave, he gains 2,000 power. And the red text that if you counterblast 1, when his attack hits, at the end of turn you can draw a card. Now, it's worded that at the end of turn you can draw a card so that it doesn't screw you out of Brave in the middle of your turn. And it's another card that people are going to want to draw because they're going to want to guard, because they don't want you to get a free draw for Counterblast 1. And generally, he's also an 11k, so he's automatically a 5,000 shield as well. And then here we have one of the eagles I was talking about. It has resist, so it cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects. So for example,
so it has it's an anti-link joker, anti-cowgirl card.
Yeah, it's like it's basically anti-control. So like if
deleters can't target it.
Yeah, deleters can't target it, starvators can't target it, messiahs can't target it, etc. And when you're in Brave, he's a 10k shield, so I mean, it's pretty good.
Either.
Huh?
Grand Blue can't target it either.
Yeah, Grand Blue cannot target it either. Neither can Pale Moon. Or I'm thinking of Dark Irregulars. Dark Irregulars, when I think it's the Shaharit Stride that you choose to. I think it's you choose.
I have no idea about Dark Irregulars. No, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's you choose. So I mean, if it's you choose, then I guess it can target it. But your opponent cannot directly target it. And that's it for the grade 2s. Now, for the grade 3 lineup, it's actually due to change with the new support coming out. But
eventually,
eventually, in America, in the north, it comes out in March. But so far, the current grade 3 lineup is for Blue Sky Knight Altma. He is your boss. He is the guy you want to be on for pretty much the entire game once you get to grade 3. If you have to ride into one of your backups, that's okay. But generally, you're in a better situation if you're on Altma. He has a continuous generation break 2 skill, which means if you have 2 face-up units in the G zone or on the Vanguard circle, your front row units gain 5,000 power. And then he has another skill that's on stride. You counterblast 1. Choose 2 cards from your hand. You may choose up to 2 cards from your hand and call them. This helps with Brave because lessen the number of cards in hand. So maybe you go down to 3, maybe you go down to 2, you know, so on and so forth. And you can choose up to 2 of your units, and they gain 5,000 power. So if you give 5,000 power to 2 units in one column, it's a free extra 10k to a column, which makes it much harder to guard. Like if it's already 16,000, it makes it much harder to guard. And then it also makes your stride turns much better, because most of your strides will give power to your units. So generally it makes your board a lot scarier to guard. Then we have 2 Model Knight Orhan. He is your Brave Searcher. It's on ride, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. You check the top 5 cards for a unit with the keyword Brave, and you can add it. You reveal it to your opponent, and you add it to your hand. His continuous GB1 skill, like I think, is pretty good defensively. Is all of your front row units with Brave gain 3,000 power. Now, since it doesn't state that it's specifically on your turn, it's active even on your opponent's turn. So if you're in Brave and your opponent hasn't strode, they're like, let's say they're on a cross ride. You're a 14,000 to their 13. Without a boost, they cannot hit you. And so I mean, he's okay defensively. And then we have for Knight of Light Order, she has a Vanguard and Rearguard skill that is Generation Break 1. When she attacks a Vanguard, if she hits, she can Counterblast 1 and Superior Call a Grade 2 from the deck. So like, for example, if you wanted to, you could call a Celine and you would gain 2,000 power, because that's the other part of the effect. So she's good, she helps you call. So she can call on top of herself. So like if you just wanted to, you could attack with her unboosted and then call over her, so you can boost the next unit. And that's pretty much it for the main deck, which is pretty cheap. The most expensive card in the main deck is the Critical Trigger Belinus, but he's only like $6
for now.
For now, because we know the clone for Chrono Jet went up to 18 for the double rare, which is ridiculous. So now on to the G Zone. You're going to be running 4 G Guardians, two of the original Fighters Collection Holy Dragon Laser Guard Dragon. Its skill is auto. When it's placed on Guardian Circle, if you have a grade 2 unit, it gains an extra 5,000 shield, so it's a 20k shield when you have a grade 2 on the board. And then you can intercept with that grade 2 to make it a 25k shield, which is why I like it more than Androgeus, because Androgeus is continuous and you have to have 2 grade 2s on the field. So you can't intercept or he'll lose the 10,000 shield. And then we run Dismal for like control decks, like maybe let's say yeah, you're fighting like let's say your opponent strides into VMAX and you only have 2 units on the board. You can Generation Guard the Vanguard with Dismal and select one of your units. It cannot be targeted by effects, or it cannot be selected for battle until the end of turn. So VMAX's skill for Thunderstrike 5 will not go off, and you won't take the extra damage if you decided to no card the Vanguard. And that's about it for the G Guardians. Then we're gonna run 3 Clotennis. He is essentially the new Saint Blow, but his skill is a little more cost heavy. It's once per turn. You must be in Brave when you do this. It's Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. You flip any G unit in your G Zone phase up. Like for example, you could flip up any of the All Miles, or you can flip up another copy of him, or you could flip up the 1 copy of Sabreeze in the deck. But for every copy of Clotennis face up in the G Zone, you can call up to 1 grade 2. So let's say you had both of them face up, you could call another column or an entire front row. And then until the end of turn, he gets continuous Generation Break 3. If you have 5 or more rear guards, he gains 10,000 power in a crit, which is why I say he's like Saint Blow, because Saint Blow has a similar skill. It's if you have 2 face up in the G zone and 2 units on the field, he gains a crit, and he gains 3,000 for each one of the units face up on the field. So I mean, he's pretty good at applying pressure, like mid to late game. He can force your opponent into dropping a perfect guard. I know I've done it on many occasions, and then I stacked 3 triggers on a rear guard because I sacked really hard. Then we have Sabriz. This is a one-of in case your opponent is grade stuck at 2 and they can't ride, and you have 2 open counterblast and a free card to spare. You can
Just flip them over.
you can flip them over and stride against your grade 2 opponent.
And activate all your GB effects now.
And activate all your Generation Break effects earlier. Like
That's pretty much the only reason why you run it.
It's pretty much the only reason people run it.
Also, to get rid of it for GSS.
Yeah. Then we run 2 Fetus. He's your his skill is pretty awesome. He chooses a unit in your G zone, flips it face up. It's counterblast free. You choose a G unit in your G zone and flip it face up. So generally you're going to choose another Fetus, or if your opponent is at grade 3 and you already have one face up, or for some reason you don't want to flip him, you can flip up Sabriz. He gains. Okay. He gains he lets you call a grade 2, and if it has Brave, you get to draw a card. Then he has a GB3 skill that when he swings, you can choose 2 of your units and they gain 5,000 power, so it's free power for one of your columns, and you get to retire one of your opponent's rear guards. So it adds a little control element to Royal Paladins. And then we have 4 of Aerial Divine Knight Altmile. This is generally your first stride. His skill is on stride. You flip a copy of him face up, and if you have 2 or more G units face up in the G zone, you can superior call it grade 2 and it gains 5,000 power. And then he gets the continuous effect that your front row gains 3,000 power. So the 3,000 power is always active even if you don't have 2 G units face up. So he kind of provides a decent buff to your front row. And he works well with the next card.
And before you get that, I'm just going to say, I'm sorry. I'm going to apologize now if the videos could be very shaky. I'm sitting next to the camera because it's a very small space that we're in right now.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a little bit shaky. I'm sorry. Apologize in advance.
Yeah. Then the last card we're going to run is 2 Transcending the Heavens Altmile. He's generally your game winner. You can win the game if you play the deck right by second turn stride with him. His skill is Counterblast 1. It's Generation Break 2, Counterblast 1. You choose a G unit in your G zone and flip it face up. Generally, you're going to pick an Aerial Divine Knight Altmile. And then he gains the ability that when he attacks, he can call a grade 2 from the deck. And for every face up Aerial Divine Knight Altmile that you have face up in your G zone, your front row gains 2,000 power. So if you have, for example, 3, your front row gains 6,000 power. So that's generally how you win the game, because by the time you have strode into Aerial, their hand is generally weakened, and then you stride into Transcending the Heavens, and he finishes them off with big numbers and multi attacks. So that's it for the deck. Now, the combo that we're talking about is...
I have to be right back myself. I have to get my stuff because apparently everyone's down here.
Yeah. Okay. So
If you want to turn off the camera, just hit the button behind it. They'll say stop recording.
Yeah, okay. So, generally you're going to have Altmal as your Vanguard. We need about 8 to 9 cards in Soul, so let's say we've used all our critical triggers. So we've drawn all our cards. We have the starter in the Soul, and then we have grade 1 and the grade 2. So that's about 7. Yeah, it's about 7. And then we soul charged an extra card with Knight of Fragment. So this is your Vanguard's soul. Then you have 2 face-up Aerial Divine Knight Altmal. And your field looks something like this. You have Ornus, who we talked about earlier, and you have nothing in front of him, and he's just there. And then, let's say you have a Shinegall, a Celine, and let's say another Ornus behind, or a Perfect Guard behind the Vanguard. So we'll have a few cards in the drop zone. Definitely a Stride Enabler that we just strode. And for damage we have a Knight of Fragment. Let's say we have another Celine, and we're at 5 damage, let's say. So your hand would look something like this. You would have these units and this unit. So, while it's a little difficult to perform if you actually aren't in Brave, so we have G-Zone here. We strode into Transcending the Heavens. We used his skill. These are the 2 we called. You gave power here. The only problem that I just remembered is that this unit has the Brave skill. So the play was to call the 4 Encourage Angels until we have a Suleiman in hand, and you Soul Blast 4. So that he gains 9,000 power. Ornus gains 9,000 power because he gains 6,000 from his own skill, since we're on Transcending the Heavens, and he gains 3,000 from the stand triggers, and they get shuffled back into the deck. Then and then you call Suleiman in front of him, Soul Blast 1 more, he gains another 6,000 power. So obviously 9 times 4 is 36, plus another 6 is 42. He's gotten 42,000 power now. Since we're in Brave, Suleiman is 12,000. We use Transcending the Heavens skill to flip up another Altmal, so he gains another 6,000 power. So he's 18. So he swings 18,000 at the Vanguard, counterblast 1, discard a card, search your deck for any grade 2 really. So let's say for example Knight of Fragment. Then Knight of Fragment attacks. Knight of Fragment gets plus 2,000 for Suleiman's skill. And he gains 2,000 from his own skill and 6,000 from Altmal. So he's, instead of 13, he's 19. So he swings. For example, he hits. we countercharge one, soul charge one from the deck.
Thanks, man.
Then we swing with Transcending the Heavens, whose skill goes off. We search our deck for a grade 2. We search for another Suleiman, and we call him.
I'm actually out of that's when it starts.
And then Ornus' skill triggers again. So we triggered twice for Ornus' skill. So he gained another 12,000 power on top of his 42, so he's 58. We got 58 extra power. Suleiman gets another 5,000 power from being called by Transcending the Heavens, and he gains 6,000, so he gains 11, so he's 20 plus his own 3. He's 23 by himself. You use Suleiman's skill again, counterblast one, discard one, sacrifice him, and call a Knight of Flight Danius. Well, this is after we drive check, and let's say this is our drive check. Stand triggers, whatever, nothing stands. Heal trigger, say we can only. We give all power to Danius. So he's at 58 plus 15. Or is it 68 plus 15? Do not remember. I remember it being 58, so 58 plus 15 is 73. And then Danius gains plus 2,000 from Transcendence for Suleiman's skill, yes, plus 2,000. So he's 11,000. And then since we have 4 other Brave units, he gains plus another 4,000. So he's 15,000 by himself. And then he gets another 6,000, so he's 21. On top of an Ornus who got buffed by 73. So he's plus 80k. So excuse me if my math is wrong, but so the 22 plus the 80 is 100 and is 100k plus. It's 100k plus. So it's everything's irrelevant. Everything else is irrelevant. Your opponent doesn't have a perfect guard, they die, and then you have an extra attack that can draw you a card.
Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, comment, ask what else we can do to improve the channel, what else do you want to see. Hopefully to make more videos later in the future. Have a nice day.